Muslims claim that Islam honors Jesus as one of the greatest prophets of God. But this is absolute nonsense. If Islam is true, then Jesus is the worst person who ever lived. Here's why. According to Islam, Allah has sent many prophets. They all taught one simple message. Allah is one, worship Him alone, keep His laws. Jesus was the last prophet before Muhammad. He was born of a virgin and performed miracles, but never claimed to be the divine Son of God. He was sent to the Jewish nation and taught the one simple message. Like all prophets, some people believed Jesus and became His disciples. Quran 3:55 says, Allah said, O Jesus, indeed, I will take you and raise you to myself and purify you from those who disbelieve and make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve until the day of resurrection. Remember this point. Allah promised Jesus that His followers would be superior. Quran 61:14 says that they will be dominant or uppermost. Surely then, things turn out great for Jesus and the disciples, and they all lived happily ever after. The end. Except, of course, that's not true. In my last video, I talked about how in 5 centuries between Jesus and Muhammad, there is no one that a Muslim can identify as a true follower of Allah. Be sure to go back and watch it, but in a nutshell, the Jews rejected Jesus, a true prophet. The Orthodox Christians worship Jesus. The non-Orthodox Christians call the creator of the world evil, and basically everyone else is a polytheist, believing in many gods. For over 500 years, true belief in Allah disappears from the earth. Instead, this period is famous for the dramatic rise of Christianity, which worships Jesus as divine. How did this happen? Whose fault is it? Let's rewind to Jesus' time. According to Quran 4:157, Jesus only appeared to be crucified. His enemies thought that they had killed Him, but they were fooled. So now we have 2 competing stories. Jesus knows that He wasn't crucified, but His enemies say that He was. Allah will make Jesus and His followers superior, right? Wrong. In every historical record, everyone in the first century who knows about Jesus at all believes that He was crucified. This includes Jesus' own followers. Even though Jesus was alive, He somehow failed to set the record straight. The Jesus movement, which explodes out of Judea and takes over the world, worships the crucified and risen Jesus. Jesus' disciples create, or allow someone, usually Paul according to Muslims, to create a false religion about Jesus. According to the Quran, Jesus had also been given a book, the true gospel. But according to history, His followers immediately threw this book away because there is zero trace of it anywhere. Jesus' real teachings are completely forgotten by a movement that worships Him as divine. It didn't have to be this way. If Jesus had taught His followers properly, securing the one simple message, making sure that His gospel was preserved, and warning about false teachers like Paul, and perhaps casually mentioning that He wasn't crucified, Christianity wouldn't have happened. So, according to Islam, Christianity, the largest false religion that the world has ever seen, is Jesus' fault. And so, according to Islam, Jesus' failures are responsible for the rise and spread of Christianity, the largest false religion in human history. Worshipping anyone but Allah is the worst thing that a human being can do. Thus, Jesus, being responsible for the most false worship, is the worst person who ever lived. That's how Islam honors Jesus, the worst person ever. If that seems a bit far-fetched, the Quran says exactly this in Surah 5:116. Allah will say, O Jesus, son of Mary, did you say to the people, take me and my mother as deities besides Allah? He will say, exalted are you. It was not for me to say that to which I have no right. If I said it, you would have known it. Picture the scene. Jesus is in heaven for 2,000 years, day after day. He's watched billions of people worship Him instead of Allah. How embarrassing. The shame. He isn't honored. He's in trouble. He's called to the boss's office and asked to explain himself. What did you do, Jesus? Allah fumes. Why are there 3 billion humans worshiping you instead of me? Jesus has no answer. How could a prophet mess things up so badly? So, if you're a Muslim, don't say that you honor Jesus. No, you shame Him. If Jesus is just a prophet, He has done more damage to the cause of Allah than anyone else in the history of humankind. Satan could only dream of emulating Jesus' ability to inspire false, blasphemous worship. Thankfully, though, there's good news. The Islamic Jesus never existed. Jesus' followers believe that Jesus was crucified because he actually was. They believe Jesus was raised from the dead because he actually was. They believe Jesus is actually God because he is. The argument is simple. The Quran affirms that the true followers of Jesus would be dominant. The dominant followers of Jesus worshipped him as God. Thus, the Quran affirms that the true followers of Jesus worship him as God. Muslims, if you really want to honor Jesus, then repent of Islam and embrace the real Jesus of history, the Jesus of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. If you want to learn how the Gospels are not corrupt teachings written by people who didn't even know Jesus, but rather by honest, faithful, knowledgeable witnesses, be sure to check out these two playlists.